Welcome back, everyone, to Where You Going Next, travel podcast for travelers by travelers. Today, I have another very special guest. I'm here with the lovely Emily. Um, and Emily, tell us who you are. Where can everyone find you?
Yeah, hi. So my Instagram is Emilybtravels. And I have a blog on there. So from from my Instagram you can find the blog, or the blog website is the brightsonbooks.wixsite.com/Emily Travels. And yeah, really everything can be found there for my blog or through my Instagram.
Cool, thank you. And yeah, everyone listening should definitely go look at your blog. You got some really interesting stuff on there.
Thanks.
um, Cool. So let's get into it. When did you start traveling? Is travel something you've grown up with, or when you got a bit older, you started doing then?
Yeah, I've really, as far as I can remember, always been traveling with family, and then like later on like 16, going away with friends. Um, so I think I was like 6 weeks old when I did my first trip, so I don't remember that. But yeah, it's always been something that we've always done, really, which is I'm quite lucky with that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm quite jealous that you got to do it so young, and then starting to travel with friends at 16. That's quite impressive. That's quite young to start going out like that.
Yeah, I think it took a bit of persuading, but yeah, it was definitely worth it. And I think if you're kind of younger, you're more like, let's go see everything, let's do everything. So yeah, definitely really good experience, and also means that as you get older, you kind of know more what to do, where to go when you're like by yourself or with friends.
Mm. Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. In fact, that was going to be my next question. How do you like traveling alone or with friends?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'd like to do solo travel, but there's always the kind of in the back of your head the what if, in terms of you're on your own, you're in a foreign country. I don't know, it can feel a bit scary, but it's definitely something that I'm wanting to do, and I was actually planning to. Obviously now everything's been cancelled, but I was going to be going to America,
Oh, nice.
um, to a summer camp in June by myself, and then after that traveling around New York by myself. So that would have been my first solo experience, but not yet. Soon.
That's quite a big jump for a first trip. You didn't want to
Yeah.
try somewhere closer by first.
No, just jump straight into it.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry it got cancelled. I mean, I think loads of people, for everyone listening, has
Yeah.
probably had a good trip like that cancelled. Um, yeah, it's pretty tough times at the moment. Um,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's annoying, but have it to look forward to at least.
yeah, totally. So you pretty much just travel with friends, and do you like staying in hostels when you go traveling with friends, or?
Yeah, I never really wanted to stay in a hostel kind of
Oh,
prior to
really?
last year. Um, it just seemed like you don't know who's going to be there. You don't know how like clean or like it's just so unknown. Um, so I got convinced by a friend to stay in the hostels, and honestly, it was like the best decision we could have made, because it's so cheap. Like compared to paying for a private room in a hotel, you're paying like a quarter of the price and probably in a better location.
Mm.
So yeah, definitely a fan of hostels now.
That's what we like to hear. I'm definitely a fan of hostels. Um, so when you had your first experience, you kind of thought, okay, all of the things I was worried about, that's not
Hmm.
really true. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, like just I guess you're told, you hear like the horror stories rather than any of the good stuff. But yeah, it's just I now would always look for a hostel over looking for a hotel, just because of how cheap it is and how like easy it is, and you meet new people. It's just definitely worth doing.
Yeah, no, that's always, I'm always such an advocate. I've met some great people in hostels. I'm sure you have too. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, it's such a good, especially, and when you start solo traveling more, trust me,
yeah.
hostel's the place to be.
Have you done lots of solo travel then?
Yeah, I've done a fair few. I think I've done 4 or 5 solo trips now. Uh,
Quite good.
I would have done 1 or 2 more, but because of the current situation, I had some cancelled plans
Yeah.
as well. So, but honestly, it is daunting at first. Like I started off
hmm
slow, to be honest. My first solo trip was to Dublin, so it wasn't that far.
Yeah.
Um, so I think uh, that's maybe a good place, like somewhere like that, maybe Dublin or Paris, somewhere
Yeah.
nearby to start.
Yeah, I've been looking actually at Dublin because it's English speaking, not
Yeah,
too far from home,
that's the
so
other thing. Dublin, yeah.
it's more familiar than going like, well, literally anywhere else.
Yeah, that's true. And I said this on one of my previous podcasts. For me,
Mm.
when I went to Dublin, I thought it seemed like a really good. It seemed like the gateway to Europe for me. Obviously, as someone from London, like when I went there, there were some streets I walked down, and I felt like it felt like a European kind of city.
Yeah.
And then there was other streets I walked down, and I went, "This looks just like London." So it's definitely, yeah, I think a good place if you're from the UK and you're kind of a bit nervous to try um, solo
Yeah.
traveling for the first time. It is quite expensive, Dublin, though. You do have to warn.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. And if you like drinking beer, yeah,
hmm
the pints are quite expensive. uh, but
Yeah, I can imagine that.
yeah, but it's a good experience. And because it kind of, for me, it kind of let me find my feet with solo traveling. I felt
hmm
like, oh yeah, I can really do this. Um, and then I stepped it up after that, and I went to Paris, and then and the craziest solo travel I've done is I went to Morocco by myself.
Wow.
Yeah, that was quite a
Bet
big
that was
leap.
good.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm really glad I did it. But I think you just got to push yourself. Uh,
Yeah.
but don't push yourself too quickly. Like it's okay if you're nervous at first. I mean, I was. Um,
Yeah.
so, but yeah, going to New York and America, that's, as I said, that's quite a big leap for for a
Yeah.
first solo trip.
Guess there's no turning back once I was there.
Exactly. The great thing is that you just meet so many people, and I personally think it's easier to meet people when you're solo traveling because
hmm
you're kind of more determined. Like, okay, I don't want to be on my own right now. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to speak
Yeah.
to someone who I don't know. So, but whereas if you're with a friend, you could be like, oh, it's okay. I've got my friend with me. Uh,
Yeah, definitely like in hostels, it, like being in a room with someone you know, it's kind of, you know, you just speak to them and then you might speak to other people occasionally, but it's not, you're not putting yourself out there as much, I guess.
yeah, and I think maybe for people who are on their own, it can be a little bit more daunting going up
Mm.
to like 2 people who are together who are clearly like really good friends as well. Um,
Yeah.
I know I've encountered some of those, but I mean they always seem really lovely. It's just that kind of initial ice break moment.
hmm
So yeah, I mean there's pros and cons. And as I was talking about on my last episode, when you're with friends, they might be like, "Oh, I don't want to go here." And you're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
but I do." And when you're on your own, it's great. You can just go anyway.
Yeah, I've definitely had that in terms of wanting to go somewhere and other people want to go somewhere else and someone else wants to go somewhere else and you're just, it's hard to all decide where to go. So I guess
Mm,
if you're on your own, you get that say. You can just go, okay, I want to go here, and then off you go.
exactly. In fact, yeah, I'm not great at organising myself, letting in other people. So I find it easier to just go on my own, and I don't have to worry about that. um, Cool. So you obviously, by the sounds of it, staying in hostels, you are kind of more of a budget traveler. You like to make your
Yeah,
money go
definitely.
further. Yeah. So when you're planning trips, like how do you do that to try and get the most value for your money? If that makes sense.
I'd normally start on Skyscanner, and I just put in the like any month, any place, and just
Oh
let it put like
yes,
the cheapest possible flight
I'm such an
any time
advocate
of the
for
year.
that. The anywhere feature on Skyscanner is obviously underrated. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, that is no, that's like become over lockdown like a hobby of mine, just seeing like the cheapest flight I can possibly find, and just like having that little bit of hope that maybe I'll be able to travel sometime soon. Um, so yeah, I start on there and then look at like which places interest me, um, and which places I haven't been before, because I'm always wanted to add to the list of places I've been to.
Mm.
Um, and then yeah, and then from there just looking on like Hostel World or booking.com, just seeing like what hotel prices I can find, and just yeah, trying to make it as cheap as possible, definitely. But also just making sure I like staying somewhere pretty central is always quite important, I think. But yeah, just I like to take a lot of time when I plan it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And when I go away, I love to walk everywhere.
Mm,
I have this thing. I really don't like buses. So, like for coach travel, when you're like going across borders and stuff, that's fine. But like into when you're in a city and you're on a bus, I
yeah,
don't know. I'd rather just walk because buses just get stuck in
yeah,
traffic. So yeah, I like that you said more central. That's definitely, yeah. Staying in a hostel definitely helps me be able to stay more central.
yeah. I
Um,
always get really surprised how far I walk when I'm away. Because like on
yeah,
an average day
same.
at home, I wouldn't walk that far, and then I'm away and I look, I'm like, I've done like 12 miles today, and it doesn't feel like it, because you're just constantly looking around, seeing new things, and you're not focused on like walking.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think when you're, I felt that as well. Like when I went to Copenhagen, I literally walked for miles. Um, yeah, and I looked at my step counter when I got back, and I was like, "Geez." um, I was worried I was going to get
Yeah,
some sassy messages from Google being like, "Look how much you walked last week. What are you doing?" um, but no, yeah, definitely. And it was interesting what you said. You always wanted to add to places that you've gone to. I'm kind of like that as well. I always want to go to more countries. But do
yeah.
you ever feel like you've sacrificed not seeing as much in certain countries in your pursuit to have more countries on your list? If that makes sense.
um, yeah. Well, I know that when I did an interrail trip last summer around Europe, and we were kind of doing like 2 nights on average in each place, which like we saw a lot, but then you don't get to see as much in each place. So in that sense, yeah, like I have missed out on some things, but then I guess I've also seen so much more going to all these different places and experiencing different culture, because every place is different. So I quite enjoy it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I love about Europe. It's so different, even just in a
Mm.
short kind of distance. But I mean, so are you kind of happy with the balance that you've got at the moment with what you've seen? And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you kind of feel like, yeah, I'm happy to sacrifice a bit of this to see more in other countries.
Yeah, I mean, you can always go back to the place as well if you haven't seen as much as you'd like. So yeah, I don't feel like I've missed too much of anywhere I've been, but there's definitely places I go back and maybe see other things that I didn't get to see.
Mm. But I mean, when I like go to book or to go to a country I've already been to before, I'm always like a little bit hesitant. I'm always like, oh, I've already been here. Like, I want to go some. Do you
Yeah,
ever get that feeling? Like, I mean, there's more
yeah,
I want to
it's
see, but like, I could go somewhere else I haven't been.
hmm yeah, it feels like you're kind of wasting that trip of like, oh, but I could go somewhere and see something completely new. But then there's some places that like you just want to go back because there is so much there. I know like for me, I've been to Mallorca more times than I even know, and it's somewhere that I still just love to go back to because it's all so familiar because I've been there so much. So I think there's kind of a balance, in some places I'm happy to go for like a couple of days and that's it, but some places definitely want to go back.
Yeah, I definitely feel what you're saying there. I guess you just kind of, it's kind of another balance you've got to get. Decide if you there is, obviously there's always more you can see, but you probably just got to weigh it up and be like, okay, I think I've seen enough of this place, or I'd rather see
Yeah.
somewhere else. Yeah. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to get a little bit deeper. How has travel changed your life?
um wow.
I know it's quite a
A
deep
lot. I think it's,
question.
yeah, I think it's made me more open to different cultures and like different people and stuff, because obviously there are different cultures within England, but when you're actually living within a different culture, you experience it completely differently. um yeah, I think it's just made me a better person in terms of how I see the world and how I see different people.
Yeah, I loved that you said that. This is something I talked about with a previous guest.
Hmm.
It's I mean, I really think that traveling helps to break down kind of prejudice and stereotypes, because
Yeah,
you do interact with people that you don't speak English or don't look like you, and
yeah,
I think it's definitely, I think it's, that's why everyone should travel, because it really breaks it down. But you can't expect everyone to speak English everywhere because they don't, and that's okay.
yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
it's just, you meet so many people, and I think, yeah, as you say, it just really makes you into a better person. So I think,
Mhm.
yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, even things like going to a museum in a different place, like you're learning the history of where you are, which I think then changes your perspective of where you are and like what the people there may have been through. Um, yeah, I just think it's like everyone needs that, like kind of bringing down to earth to understand other people.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. And I think, yeah, to go to a museum, that's a good idea. A lot of them are free as well, a lot of the time,
Yeah.
so it's definitely worth looking into, that kind of thing. What about stuff like free walking tours? Because I know,
Hmm.
on those, your tour guide usually explains a lot about the history of the kind of the city you're walking around. Is that something that you've done before?
No, I haven't. I've looked into doing it in certain places. I'm not sure why I haven't done it actually, because it's almost too good to be true that you can walk around somewhere and have someone tell you like everything about it and it's free of charge.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I don't know why I haven't done it, but it definitely is something that looks really good.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done that many. Sometimes, I don't know, you might feel the same. When I'm somewhere, I feel like, oh, I just want to explore by myself, and then
Mm.
so there's always kind of that toss up. Is that something that you've thought about?
Yeah, I think I'm quite stubborn in that sense of like I can show myself where to go. I don't need to like be shown where to go. But then I think you probably miss quite a lot when you have that mindset, because obviously I don't live there. Someone that lives there is going to know a lot more about where to go, what to see than I would.
Mm, definitely, definitely. And how are you with languages? Do you speak any other languages?
I've actually been learning Italian
Oh,
during
yes.
lockdown. Um,
Love to hear
Other than
that.
that, yeah, other than that, I studied Spanish in school, but I don't really speak. Other than like hola, I don't speak much Spanish. I try to kind of learn like hello, thank you, and stuff when I go somewhere.
Oh,
Um,
yes. I'm glad you said that. That's something
but
I always advocate.
yeah, definitely worth doing that. But yeah, other than that, don't speak anything fluent. I'd like to though. Definitely would like to.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm determined. I've been trying to learn Spanish for 3 years and I'm still hopeless, but I'm determined one day I will be fluent in Spanish. It might
Yeah,
take me a long time, but I'll get there.
what do you use to learn? Oh,
See, everyone I know is like, oh, Duolingo. I don't really know. I don't like Duolingo because, like, and I know like practice makes perfect. Obviously, but like my Spanish is kind of like in between beginner and intermediate. So I know enough to be kind of well past beginner, but on Duolingo you have to spend ages typing in "I like to eat bread." Me gusta pan. I
yeah.
know this. Like, come on. So I struggle to really get going with Duolingo. One thing I like is just to go on YouTube, type in learning Spanish or learning whatever, Italian or French, and there's always kind of there's loads of videos of people trying to teach you phrases and thing. And then another thing I've found is trying to watch shows. So like stuff like Money Heist, I know is in Spanish, and then watching it with subtitles, so you kind of just hear it more as well. What about you? What methods have you come up with for learning Italian?
I've been using Duolingo, so I've been
Not
typing
another
in
one.
"I like bread" over and over for the past 3 months. I've used subtitles on. There's some Netflix shows that have Italian subtitles, but I don't think I'm yet at that point where I can like read or listen and also actually understand what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched the first 3 episodes of Money Heist, and in fact, for part of it, I had Spanish, and I had Spanish subtitles as well, because I was trying to like connect the sounds to the words. And then one of my friends was like, "Oh, have you watched Money Heist? It's so good." And I went, "I have, but I have absolutely no idea what's going on because I've watched it all in Spanish." So I'm kind of with you. I know like UK British people have such a bad rep for trying to learn languages. I just think I've always struggled with. Like it just doesn't come naturally to me. I mean, do you kind of feel that as well?
Yeah, I think it's because it's so easy when you go away to speak English, because like the majority of people speak English, that then you kind of get into that thing of like, oh well, I don't need to know how to say like whatever it is you're trying to say, but then it's kind of, you probably should learn.
Yeah,
because
I mean,
it's like firstly it's polite to speak to them in their own language, but also just for your own sense of like you're actually something. I think it's definitely worth investing the time.
Exactly. And as you said, just really polite. So I mean, I always try and learn at least hi, thank you, sorry, and do you speak English? Just to, try and make the effort. Obviously, I'm not going to fly to places and become fluent overnight. And obviously people realize that, but it's just trying to make as much effort as possible. And as I say, I will be fluent in Spanish at some point.
Good luck.
Thank you. Good luck with Italian. I can imagine that's probably quite a difficult one to learn as well.
Yeah, it's quite similar to Spanish though, which is
definitely
makes it a bit easier.
Cool. So, what's the best place you've been to? Would you say so far?
Probably Rome, I think.
Oh, nice, good choice.
Yeah, I didn't actually have, I don't know why, but I didn't have that high of an expectation when I went there.
Really?
But I loved it. Like there's so much to do there. It's so easy to get around. We walked every day and just felt like I've seen everything that there is to see there. So yeah, loved it in Rome. Probably also like Copenhagen was really, really good as well. And again, you can walk around, see everything. It's just so easy to get around. We hired bikes, so we could just cycle everywhere. And it's like everyone cycles there. Literally everyone cycles. Both those places absolutely loved them. Definitely will go back.
Yeah, I loved Copenhagen. That's a great city. In fact, Copenhagen, I think, is maybe a good place for a solo trip because everyone in Denmark speaks English really well. I really did try to learn some Danish, but it's just really complicated. So I didn't do as well as I should have done on that trip, which I do regret. But I mean, I always ask, even if I couldn't quite work out how to say, "Do you speak English?" in Danish, so I just said in English, "Do you speak English?" And like everyone looked at me like I just like kicked their dog or something. They're like, "Yeah, of course I speak English." It's
Yeah.
like, okay, sorry, I didn't want to presume. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah,
it definitely felt safe there as well,
mm,
which is always nice.
definitely, yeah. Copenhagen is very safe place. Oh, one thing I thought was really weird with Copenhagen is that they have 7-Eleven everywhere.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I don't know. I just thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah, it's quite convenient though.
Yeah, definitely. Did pop in a couple of times, I have to admit. um, cool. So what advice would you give to someone who's just starting out with travel?
Um, I'd just say go with a friend, like someone that you really trust. You know you're gonna have a good time, and just go and explore literally everything that there is to see. Um, I'm always trying to make the trips I do as cheap as possible, but I'm also very much for when I'm in a place spending the money to see things, to do things. Um, like going to a nice restaurant maybe for one night or something. Um, yeah, I just think a lot of people don't want to spend the money when they're there, and then you can kind of miss out on seeing things. It's like if you've traveled all that way to somewhere, you might as well pay the €5 entry or something like that. I just think it's worth doing as much as you possibly can when you're there.
Yeah, it's always a toss up though. Like I remember when I was in Paris and it was like €30 to go up the Eiffel Tower and it was
Yeah.
like 35 degrees and the queue was so long. I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna give it a miss this time. I'll come back.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a good thing in Europe, a lot of for under 25s, I think, a lot of places are free to go to, which
mm,
is always really good.
yeah,
But
they're
yeah,
nice to
definitely,
students.
yeah, definitely a fan of paying the entry to go to a museum just to kind of learn about the place. And yeah, just worth doing, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think uh, more people should do that. Definitely. I think I'm going to try and do that when I go abroad more. Take a few hours to go to the museum. Definitely.
Hmm.
And you
Yeah.
mentioned going to like a nice restaurant. Is food something that's quite important to you when you're traveling?
Oh, very, very important. um, yeah, I always like to try the local food.
Mm,
Um, so like places just on the street or local cafes, really anything. I think Google is so good for finding properly authentic local food. Um, like in Prague, I found this tiny little restaurant that had like literally nobody in and just did the best food, probably the best food I've ever eaten.
oh, really?
And that was just from like Google reviews. It's just, yeah, definitely a fan of trying the local cuisine.
I love that answer. 100%. Exactly. That's what it's all about. You definitely got to immerse
Hmm.
yourself in the culture as much as possible. And food is a huge part of a lot of
Yeah.
cultures. So, no, definitely. I'm very glad you
Yeah.
said that.
Yeah, I think it definitely just, I mean, it can make a trip if you have a good meal. It's
mm,
definitely worth, like, in my opinion, worth paying a little bit extra to have something really nice in a new place.
exactly. And if you're going to somewhere like Rome or Paris,
Hmm.
it's definitely worth it. The French and Italian food's amazing. I mean, you don't want to go
Yeah.
there and be like, oh yeah, I went to McDonald's. No, exactly, 100%. Cool. So next, I'm going to get into the elephant in the room, coronavirus, COVID-19.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's kind of just unavoidable to even mention at this point. It's taken over.
Hmm.
So how are you feeling about traveling? I mean, not only post-COVID, I mean, post-COVID could be quite a few years away still. I mean, no one really
Yeah.
knows what's going on. I mean, how are you thinking about travel during COVID as well? Tell us about your thoughts.
Yeah, which is quite uncertain. But it is looking more positive, I think, now. Now that the 14-day restriction on return is gone. I think they said they've had their biggest travel day like ever. So yeah, I'm definitely more positive about it now than I was a couple of weeks ago. And I've actually just got back from a trip away with friends within the UK. So I'm more leaning towards that side of things for now, and exploring some of England because there's a lot of it that I just haven't seen that I probably should have seen. But definitely hoping to travel abroad soon.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people say that they've gone for the staycation. And yeah, I've said this a couple of times on the podcast. Yeah, there's loads of places in the UK I haven't seen.
Hmm.
So obviously now's the time to kind of do that.
Yeah.
Especially as there's probably less tourists around as well. So
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
not I'm speaking to not just people in the UK right now. People in whatever country they live in, they can explore their own country, and I suppose it'll probably be easier and less busy,
Yeah.
and maybe even cheaper because won't be as many tourists kind of flooding in.
Hmm. Yeah, a lot of like big cities, like Liverpool, I've never been, and I feel like I probably should go because there's like so much culture there, and it's just such a big place within the country. Um, so I'm definitely planning some UK trips and maybe out to the countryside a bit more as well because there's so much. I see videos online of places that's within England, and it always like shocks me that that's England because you don't really see that side so much, I don't think. So yeah, hoping to get out to some new places.
Yeah, I know what you mean. There's definitely some pictures I've seen. I was like, no, that can't be in England. Surely not. Yeah. So okay. um, no, definitely. And I mean, I know before we were talking about you love hostels, but how are you feeling about hostels at the moment? Are you
Yeah.
probably less inclined to stay at them given what's going on?
Yeah, yeah, definitely not sure about that. Not sure if they even be open, but definitely doesn't feel like the right time to be staying in a hostel. Um, but there are plenty of cheap hotels where you can get a nice room and you're paying maybe 10, £15 more than you would in a hostel. But I'd say it's worth paying that extra just to get away from like your local area, even just for a couple of days. I definitely am not upset about not being able to stay in hostels as long as I can still go away.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think as much as I love hostels, yeah, I think I'm going to kind of try and avoid them for a while, and it's definitely worth just to be able to travel at all. So
Hmm.
yeah, no, definitely. But I mean, I'm interested to hear how you, as someone who's thinking about solo travel has never done it, are you more anxious about it given COVID? Do you think it'll be harder to meet people because obviously everyone's kind of cautious about being close to
Yeah,
everyone? Is that something you've thought about?
I actually haven't thought about that, but yeah, I guess like not staying in a hostel, you're not going to meet people as freely as you would. Um, but I mean, you can still travel and not meet people. So I guess it would be moving over to that rather than traveling with the intent of meeting new people and then traveling on with them. Um, so yeah, but I also think there's probably a lot of people in the similar situation of wanting to travel but not wanting to travel completely alone. Um, so yeah, I'm sure that there would be like-minded people.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I think it probably could be done safely. It's just got to. Obviously, if hostels aren't open, there'll have to be maybe alternatives, like some small kind of event where people are socially distanced, where you can meet like-minded travelers. I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if anything like that out like that pops up. Um, it's definitely kind
Yeah.
of interesting times at the moment.
Yeah, and I guess also hostels, a lot of them have private rooms, so they are likely to be open. Um, so you can, I guess, still meet people through that in terms of hostels have their like social events that go on. So you can meet people in that sense, I guess. It just depends on how many other people are traveling at the moment.
Yeah, that's the thing. I haven't actually thought about that. That's a good point. Yeah, they might pivot kind of and just have all their private rooms open
Mm.
and use the extra space to do kind of socially distance meet events. I think everyone's got to kind of adapt, and it'll be definitely interesting to see
Yeah.
how different hostels adapt to what's going on. Um, Definitely. And how are you feeling about flying? Are you? I know you said you want to go to New York, but if you were to go to Europe, would you be more inclined to take a train or a bus instead of flying? Like, have you given that any thought?
Um, yeah, I prefer to travel by train in general. But I'm definitely not anti flying anywhere at the moment. As long as like you take your precautions and like wear a mask and you're careful, and kind of considerate of how close you are to others and all of the different things you need to do now. I'm not anti getting on a flight at the moment. I think it would just depend on where you're going to, and how likely it is to be like how likely the flight is to be crowded, depending on where you're going. But I am hoping to travel by plane at some point in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about kind of just trying to do it as safely as possible. I'm with you. I'm not too bothered about flying still because obviously everyone's supposed to wear a mask. Um, so I think it can be done safely. I mean, how are you feeling about the whole middle seat thing? I know some airlines are saying, "Oh, we're going to get rid of the middle seat," and some are saying, "No, that's a terrible idea. We're going to keep it." Have you thought about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, my only concern with that is it's likely to boost prices, I would expect, if they've got less customers. So
Yeah.
that would definitely put me off flying. Um, but in terms of safety, I feel a lot safer not sat directly next to someone than if the plane were to be just completely full. But I guess they each have their pros and cons.
And would you pay more to be safer?
Oh, yeah, definitely would pay more to be safer, but might be put off flying in general if it's more expensive.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's just kind of hard to know what's going to go on. Like, you don't know how much demand there's going to be. You don't know how many people are going to want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's all very confusing. Um, one thing I'm finding confusing is trying to figure out what countries have what kind of border policy.
Yeah.
Obviously, the UK have said
Mm.
you don't have to quarantine from these 50 countries or however many is on the list at the moment. But there's quite a few countries on that list that have their own,
Yeah.
and some of them, I know the Netherlands have like an advised quarantine period for UK travelers. So, I mean, are you also feeling just kind of lost with it all?
Yeah. Checking the gov.uk like, quite frequently to see the travel advice to different countries because it's so unclear because it's said in the news that travel for Brits is now allowed. But then when you actually look at the individual countries, the majority of the countries that can come here, we can't go there yet. So I think it can be a bit misleading because you think you can go everywhere now, and actually most countries still seem to have that 14-day quarantine on arrival. So I'm hoping that more countries are going to open up to us when it's safe to do so, which hopefully will be soon.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think it probably all depends on how well we're dealing with it, with the virus here. So hopefully things improve. I mean, hopefully things improve everywhere.
Yeah.
So that we can all kind of get back to traveling to more places. Are you also kind of thinking about like doing a lot of research when you're thinking about going somewhere? So not just looking at their border stuff. So say that in terms of border stuff, that it's absolutely fine to go to both places, to go there and then come back to the UK with absolutely no quarantine. But are you going to be looking at their cases, like looking at what other stuff they've got? Is that something that you've thought about a lot?
Yeah, because I guess some places will open up maybe earlier than it's safe to do so, because for the economy you need tourists. So in that sense, definitely would be checking, is it actually safe to go there? Because I mean, even here the cases are still really high, so it's just making sure that you're not kind of being pulled into like a tourist trap of, we'll let you in, but actually the place may be unsafe to go to currently.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot to weigh up. Definitely a lot to consider. So it's just a very strange kind of world at the moment.
Yeah.
Definitely makes decision making, I think, more difficult. I mean, as we said earlier about just going on Skyscanner and putting it everywhere, now that doesn't really feel as much as an option, because you've got to consider all this other stuff.
It's more put in everywhere. Put in everywhere and then kind of go and check, can I actually go there? And then for the kind of first maybe 15 places, you're not actually allowed into that country. So then the places you're left with are considerably more expensive. So yeah, it's very unpredictable at the moment, but I guess we just have to see where it goes and hope that it gets better, and that it gets better quite quickly.
Yeah, I think that's all we can really do at the moment. It seems to be a lot of hoping going on.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm with them, just hoping. I mean, I'm also hoping, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this as well, because obviously there's always the threat of, if you go somewhere and on paper, when you're doing your research, it's all fine, but while you're there, things get significantly worse where you are. And then they might start shutting things down, and you're still there, and you're like, oh shit. Is that, have you thought about that as well?
Yeah. I guess there's a local lockdown in Barcelona, I think, a couple of days ago.
I've seen that,
So you're then stuck there, and obviously you're having to pay. Well, I presume you're having to pay your accommodation, like food, everything whilst you're there. So in terms of like financially, it could become quite expensive. And also in terms of your safety, there's nowhere really where you're guaranteed safety at the moment. Obviously nowhere's ever safe, but I guess at the moment everywhere's a lot more unsafe. So yeah, again, you just have to hope that you're not unlucky.
Yeah, no, exactly. And are you kind of just like willing to accept the risk?
Yeah. I think at the moment, I mean, obviously it depends on where I go, but currently I think if you're going somewhere that is low risk, then you're likely to be okay. But I guess you also just have to be considerate to others, and like social distancing, wearing your mask, and not going to like a very, like I've seen some people go to really small towns where they may not have been hit by the virus, and so then you could be potentially bringing the virus in, stuff like that. But I'm not really too keen on.
Yeah, and I think it's really important, following on what you just said there, that you're even more kind of vigilant about keeping your distance,
Hmm.
being hygienic and being safe when you're not in your own country. Because as you say, you don't want to bring it to other places,
Yeah.
and you don't want. I really don't want some. I know some stupid English person is going to get really like, oh, this is a load of nonsense, and get
Yeah.
up in people's grill while they're with the local people, and it's going to be all over the news that we're horrible. We're not all like that, I
Hmm.
promise. Anyone listening who's not from the UK, but it's probably going to happen. So I really implore everyone to just, like we were saying earlier, with respect for other cultures. I think you've
Yeah.
got to factor in the virus to that now as well. Is that something you've thought about?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's kind of a should I go, shouldn't I go? Because obviously the health of everyone comes first over going on a
Exactly.
holiday. So yeah, it's a really difficult decision knowing when it's safe to go, because I feel like right now it's not safe to go. But then this virus is likely to be around for quite a while. So does that mean no travel for like 2 to 3 years? It's a really difficult one to decide when you personally feel that it's safe.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely. And I think, I mean, as I said earlier, I'm willing to accept the risk because of that. I don't want to.
mhm.
Otherwise, if you have the mindset of, obviously, I implore everyone to be as safe as possible, and definitely, as I said just said a second ago, do your bit to distance and follow the rules when you're abroad.
Yeah,
But otherwise, you're just going to be like stuck in your own house, like worrying
yeah,
about the rapture or the end of days, and then like 3 years has gone past. So I think at some point we just have to obviously always try and do everything as safely as possible going forward, but you just got to kind of accept the risk and
yeah,
just get
yeah,
kind of get on with it. Otherwise, you'll just be locked in your house all the time, and life's going to pass you by.
yeah, yeah. It's definitely eventually we've all got to go out, but it's just knowing when.
Yeah, and a lot of the government advice is very confusing, and
Hmm.
different governments having different advice. So I guess it's kind of hard to determine when the right time is,
Yeah.
because no one's really telling you. As you say, it's kind of a decision you got to make yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So coming to the end, I like to ask, where are you going next? Um, I mean, I know you mentioned New York, but given the whole travel ban with the
Hmm.
US, are you looking at maybe somewhere in Europe first?
Yeah. Well, I said earlier I was looking at Dublin.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
think Ireland's still got a travel restriction for us. Um, but hoping to go to Norway at some point, and just travel maybe up the country by train to eventually get to the Arctic Circle. All depends really.
That sounds like an awesome trip. That's something I'd like to do. I've only been to Norway once, and
Hmm.
I was there for like 25 hours. So it's definitely more to see. And I think obviously you wouldn't really come into that many contact with that many people
Yeah.
going to the Arctic Circle, so it's probably safer to do as well.
Yeah, it definitely looks like a good trip. I've never been to Norway, but definitely somewhere that I've always wanted to go. In terms of safety as a solo traveler, it looks like it's probably one of the safest places I could go. So yeah, definitely hoping to go there soon.
Yeah, Norway's a lovely place. I definitely want to go back, especially the scenery and the countryside is
Hmm.
absolutely stunning. With the fjords and going up. I mean, I only went to Oslo and some of the fjords near there, but I know a lot of people who have kind of travelled a lot more of Norway, and honestly, it looks amazing. I definitely
Hmm.
recommend
Yeah,
going. Yeah, no, definitely. Cool. So thank you so much, Emily. Could
thanks for
you?
having me.
No, no, absolute pleasure. It was lovely to have a chat with you today. Could you tell everyone your Instagram and your blog one more time?
Yep. So it's Emily B Travels on Instagram, and the blog is thebrysonbox.wixsite.com/Emily Travels.
Okay, great. And I'm guessing you're from Brighton.
Yeah.
Lovely. Very nice. So yeah, everyone definitely go check out Emily on Instagram and go and read some of her blog posts, because there's some really interesting ones on there. Please go see. Cool.
Thanks.
So thank you very much, and catch everyone in the next podcast.